Well, I can see where this one's going to go today. All right, we're talking about what happens when either we or someone around us does something stupid. It seems that we have plenty of fodder for thought today. But no, the question, the million-dollar question at the end of the day is, what do we do when that happens? Now, I've got a great story from the Bible where someone does something profoundly stupid and how they deal with it afterwards. So we're going to compare how, and the guy's name is Esau, how he dealt with something really stupid that he had done. And then, how do we deal with that? And we'll talk about this. All right, but to start off, we're going to have a song, and then some prayers. We obviously need a few of them running around. So, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is the first one song here. So let's kind of swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low.
And never came back home.
Oh my God.
And they're all looking for him.
Yeah.
So, and he's never did this, and his cell phone is off.
Right.
So then they had a thing on the Facebook yesterday that people in Trempealeau County and Buffalo County should check their fields or that stuff to see if there's a off-wheel, you know,
those vehicles on file too.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He gave his license plate, number, and everything.
So, and Jeff's the name?
Yeah, because it's a 2020, his vehicle, so they should be able to find it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but
nobody some tracking things on.
Nobody knows anything, and he's the fire chief for Glencoe and Arcadia. Okay. And he's a young man.
Okay, let's keep him in our
younger than I am.
Yeah. I
But
can't
anyway.
remember if he's 50s, it's like 54 or something like that.
Okay.
And he calls his mom and that stuff every day and talks to his family, and they haven't heard anything from him since Wednesday afternoon.
That's scary. I'd be just petrified that something happened to him.
Let's see. Also, well, obviously, let's keep Patty in our prayer. She has been patience was never Rusty's strong point. I get that.
Oh, no.
So,
Oh, no.
politely.
No. He thinks about it, and he wants it done ASAP.
Let's also keep Jane in our prayers. She had just not a major thing, just I don't know exactly, put her foot down, her leg went one way, her foot went another. Have you heard anything new about that? I just know she's on her back for a while.
She's got an appointment this week with the surgeon.
Okay, so they may have to do surgery on this here's the tendons.
I was
really
thinking
to the
maybe
feet.
we could get rooms together.
Yeah, well, as long as you're both gonna be in the hospital there, kind of across the way. So
Oh my. Okay. I was gonna say, are we gonna pray for the nurses?
oh, I have a Patty story about rehabilitation. Last time Patty got a knee replacement, they had you doing rehab in lacrosse where your daughter was a nurse, if I remember correctly. And I remember a young physical therapist. Oh, this guy was young, fresh out of school, and very excitable and just kind of very nice, very professional too. But oh, come on, Patty, we can do one more rep here, and he's just going back and forth on the machine. And you could tell it was starting to get painful, but he was very smiles and oh, come on, Patty, just a couple more. And Patty gives this look that I know all too well. That look said, son, if you want to live to see tomorrow, you will stop this now. And you can see it kind of dawns on us, and I look down like, and he goes, you know what, Patty, now's a good time to take a break, and we'll come back at this tomorrow. I'm like, good choice.
All I have to do is give him the eye.
Yeah, so, but, all right. Other prayers we want to lift up this morning.
Andrea Peterson wanted to be with us today, but last night her son-in-law, she's kind of on his trucking route, stopped because he was having really bad vertigo and was feeling very sick. And so she is keeping him at her house and doctoring him and maybe doing a trip to urgent care. His name's Carrie Bosch.
Carrie?
Yeah. So.
Urgent care gets a lot of people.
It happens.
I've been there more than once.
So much.
All right, let us pray. Oh God, we come to you this morning. We thank you for a beautiful day, a chance to be with one another. And there are a number of those that we love in our midst, in our towns, in our families. And we'd like to lift up in our prayers to you this morning for Jeff, that they may find him safe and sound. For those dealing with changes in their lives, including changes in their home, for those who have not been feeling well, for those who have gotten hurt. And more than anything, dear God, teach us how we can reach out to let them know they're not alone, for truly we are a family together. In Jesus' name, we lift up these and so many more of our heartfelt prayers to you. Amen. Thanks, Kenny. All right. Oh, yes. Odd question on the internet, and I'm trying to link this up to, this is the one about Nimrod, is it not?
Yes.
All right. I didn't know this for a while, but, all right, the expression Nimrod, or the phrase Nimrod, what does it mean? If you're a Nimrod. Precisely. Now, what's very interesting is how it became that way. Nimrod is a basic phrase meaning dumb, which is actually changed a bit. Nimrod in the Bible is the first great hunter. So how do we go from Nimrod, if you look through Genesis, those very first people who list out there, Nimrod is the first great hunter listed there. So how does Nimrod go from the great hunter to someone who's dumb or inept? To find the answer, we must go to today's internet question of the week and Looney Tunes. Please, fire away, Cassie.
Hello TikTok, I'm a non-religious 20-something reading the Bible for the first time, and today we're talking about Nimrod, so let's go! After the naked tent incident, Genesis 10 discusses the descendants of Noah's 3 sons. I thought I was going to skip over this part when making videos, but something jumped out to me that I couldn't resist. We learn that one of Ham's grandsons is this guy named Nimrod. The Bible describes him as the first heroic warrior on Earth, and the greatest hunter in the world. This made me laugh and confused me at the same time. To me, Nimrod is a silly insult like dunce or moron. My grandma, who I'm obsessed with, is an avid user of the word. I love etymology, so I did some research on how this word became one of my Mama Den's favorite insults. You can see the definitions here, though I've never heard it used in the first context. The consensus seems to be that the word being used in this way can be traced back to the Looney Tunes. Yes, you heard that correctly. Basically, after outsmarting Elmer Fudd, Daffy and Bugs would call him a Nimrod sarcastically to insult him.
We precisely what I was wondering, my little Nimrod.
And I guess we just took that and ran with it. So many things can influence language. See, learning is fun. Follow for more. Love you. Bye.
So, if anyone asks, I was always wondering this for years, and I had a good friend explain this to me, and we found it on TikTok. But essentially, to make fun of Elmer Fudd, both Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck call Elmer Fudd Nimrod. It was meant to be sarcastic, as in, oh, you're the greatest hunter in the world. But now we just say Nimrod as an insult because we lost the original context. So, the next time you use the word, now you know why it is. Any great thoughts on Nimrod? I knew the term Nimrod as a moron before I knew the term in the Bible. And I'm reading along one day, and I'm like, and so I found that really funny because I had to do a hunter service, and I talked about Nimrod being the first great hunter, and everyone starts chuckling out there. Well, it turns out it's, yeah, so we can blame Bugs Bunny for this one.
Never heard of it. If it's dumb, I just say it's dumb.
Fair enough, Eddie. Well, use that use Nimrod in a phrase somewhere down the road. See if anyone notices.
Alright, next time I get upset, I'll say, the Nimrod is driving me nuts.
Sounds good. Nimrod with an N.
I think there's a Nimrod, Minnesota.
You're
Can
right.
we Google that?
Is there a Nimrod, Minnesota? Please, now I can't resist.
Yeah.
There's something wrong in Minnesota, I know that right now.
Find out in a second.
Frank took a picture of himself
Yeah.
by the sun.
Nimrod, Minnesota.
Yes, there is a Nimrod, Minnesota.
We thought so.
In Wadena County, Minnesota, United States.
Right. That's what we
Population was 69 in 2000. That's even smaller than Found City.
Right, there is a Nimrod, you're right.
He's got a picture of
I
himself
remember
by
going
that
through it,
sun.
yeah.
Yep. So
So can we have church there someday?
we'll take a field trip to Nimrod, Minnesota. How far is that? I don't know.
It's halfway to Park Rapids.
Wadena? Yeah, that's
It's
up
a 4-hour trip, so we'd have to. Yep. Oh, it's well on its way to Park Rapids.
Well, we'd have to
Raider
leave
and all
on a
that.
Saturday.
Just have a big picture of us in Nimrod, Minnesota.
They don't have a place to stay there.
Well, we'll find
We'd
it.
have to go to a
They
neighboring
might
town,
have a bar.
somewhere in that town of 69.
They have a bar and 3 churches.
It's not Wisconsin, but it's close.
It's certainly close, yes indeed. Thank you for that little insight there. As you know, I like to do one song that's newer and one song that's older hymn that has stood the test of time. So we thought about songs for today, and we decided to do a theme of, since we are talking about doing stupid things, of being loved just as I am, warts and all. So this song obviously is an old classic hymn, and so please feel free to join me. I just need to fire away. Just as I am without one plea, but that your blood was shed for me, and that you called it mine in me, O Lamb of God.
stage, that was their song.
Yes, that is exactly. It's the perfect altar call song.
It is.
It is. It's very, yeah.
It's typical altar call.
It's very, very altar calling. Yes. So nice, good visual. Yeah. Forgiving past mistakes. Remind ourselves once a week to that we have been forgiven. That even though we have done dumb things, we have been forgiven and we have been asked to forgive others. And so it's a good thing to remind ourselves. And so I have a neat quote here. Sometimes the first step to forgiveness is understanding the other person is a complete idiot. That's on a t-shirt?
Amen.
You could hear the screenshot.
Yeah, I like it either.
Okay, was it what?
I think I want to order one of those.
I like another name than idiot.
Fair
I
enough.
don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
It's judgy.
It is judgy, isn't it? And yeah, I mean, for me, the best key to forgiveness is understanding the other person is as bad as I am, and that's
Not doing it my way.
what's that?
Point of view.
Not doing it my way.
Not doing it? Yeah, fair enough.
I used to say to myself, IQ's vary, IQ's vary, IQ's vary.
Janine, you got a good point there. You got a good
There's
point.
a lot of different IQs.
Yeah.
Now, while we're debating that in our head,
So
let's pray
we're not
silently
gonna
about
say
forgiveness. Dear God, we come to you now. Teach us to remember that we are forgiven and to help forgive others. Brothers and sisters, hear the good news, a word from Colossians, not a t-shirt. Bearing with one another and forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you. I think I can make it now, the rain is gone. All of those bad feelings have disappeared. Here's the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. And as children of God together, let us pray the prayer and Jesus taught to us. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I like to, I learned this song a decade or two ago. I got one, try that again. I got sent home from school one day with a shiner on my. Fighting was against the rules and it didn't matter why. My dad got home, I told that story just like I rehearsed. Then stood there on those trembling knees, waited for the worst. But he said, let me tell you a secret about Father's love. A secret that my daddy said was just between us. He said, daddies don't just love their children every now and then. It's a love without end, amen. It's a love without end, amen. Well, when I became a father, tell you a secret about a father's love. A secret that my daddy said was just between us. Said daddies don't just love their children every now and then. It's love without end, amen. It's love without end, amen. Last night I dreamed I died and stood outside those pearly gates. Suddenly I realized there must be some mistake. If they know after things I've done, they'll never let me in. Then somewhere from the other side, I heard these words again. They said, let me tell you a secret about a father's love. A secret that my daddy said was just between us. He said, daddies don't just love the children every now and then. It's love without end, amen. It's love without end, amen. Thanks a lot, man. That was so worth. Alright. Today's about stupid things. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a character in the Bible who does something profoundly stupid, and then what does he do about it afterwards? And it's a kind of a neat story that way. It's a very long story, so I'm going to cut to the chase on a couple of things here. I want you to picture in your mind one of the great heroes of the Bible. Of course, when you talk about the three patriarchs of the Jewish faith, they're Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But it wasn't almost Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was almost Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. And the reason is Isaac has twin boys who were first. But technically, the first one out of the womb was Esau. So he is going to be the firstborn child with all the things that go with it. He gets the inheritance, the ancestry, I shouldn't say ancestry, all the stuff that comes with being firstborn. So, I want you to picture what happens here and how Esau reacts to doing something profoundly stupid with his right of being firstborn. So as Jacob and Esau grew older, Esau loved the outdoors. He became a good hunter, while Jacob settled down and he became a shepherd. Esau would take the meat of the wild animals to his father Isaac, and so Isaac loved him more, but Jacob was his mother's favorite son. Now one day Jacob was cooking some stew, and Esau came home hungry and said, I'm starving to death. Give me some of that red stew right now. And that's how Esau got the name Edom. Jacob replied, okay, just sell me the rights of your firstborn son. Oh, I'm about to die, Esau answered. What good will these rights do me? And Jacob said, okay, promise me your birthright right here and now, and you can eat what you want. And so that is what Esau did. Jacob then gave Esau some of the bread and some of the bean stew, and when Esau had finished eating and drinking, he just got up and left, showing how little at the time he thought of his rights as the firstborn. So if you heard that right, or if something in your brain said, did he just give up everything he's entitled to as firstborn for a bowl of soup? Yes, that's what you heard. So now the question is, later on in the story, we got to jump ahead a little bit, because now Jacob's got to do another trick to talk Isaac, his dad, into giving the rights of the firstborn to him instead of his brother, and that's another full story. But at the end of it, when everything dawns on all the characters involved, what's going on here, we get to Genesis 27. Esau hated his brother Jacob because he had stolen the blessing that was supposed to be his. So he said to himself, just as soon as my father dies, I'll kill Jacob. Obviously quite angry. When Rebekah, that's mom, found out what Esau planned to do, he sent for Jacob and told him, son, your brother Esau is waiting for the time when he can kill you. Listen carefully, do what I say. Go to the home, get out of town, go to the home of my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him for a while. And when Esau stops being angry and forgets what you have done to him, send for you to come home. Why should I lose both of my sons on the same day? Jacob gets out of town, goes to see Laban. He actually meets his 2 wives there. That's another long story. He's there about 20 years, actually. But eventually he needs to come home again. But he knows when he comes home, he has to deal with his brother. And he doesn't know how his brother feels about all that happened. So he actually starts a long journey home, but he sends out gifts for Esau along the way. Meaning, at the head of the pack is some servants with various animals, sheep, goats, and these are gifts for Esau. Hopefully, by the time he gets there, Esau's not that angry. So, jump ahead. Genesis 33. He's coming home again. He's going to see his brother. Genesis 33. Later that day, Jacob met Esau coming with his 400 men. So Jacob had his children walk with their mothers. The 2 servant women, Zilpah and Bilhah, together with their children went first, followed by Leah and her children, and then Rachel and Joseph. Jacob himself walked in front of them all, bowing to the ground 7 times as he came near his brother. But Esau ran towards Jacob and hugged and kissed him, and the 2 brothers started crying. And that begins a story where, essentially, where Esau had gotten to the point where he was no longer angry. Where he had gone off and married himself, had a family of his own, had farmlands and things like that, and had developed a life. And so, Esau's reaction to doing something stupid was first anger. First, he was so angry at Jacob, he was going to kill him. What's very interesting, I don't know, maybe this is a modern perspective, but I always wondered, was Esau really angry at Jacob, or was he also partly angry at himself? I mean, the truth is, he does come in. Yes, he's hungry, and Jacob's being a little sneaky, but hey, some of your birthright for a bowl of stew. I mean, you have to walk away from that later thinking, what a dumb, bonehead move to do. I mean, he could have done it, he could have made his own stew. He could have waited a little while, there's a lot of things he could have done, but he was quick, and he was impulsive. And it's hard for me not to believe that Esau later thought about this and what a dumb, bonehead move to do. At first, he's angry. Very angry. But later, now it does take 20 years, I'll give you that, but when Jacob has to come back home again, Esau has gotten to a good spot in his life. As a matter of fact, there's some fear in the story, because rumor has it that Esau knows Jacob's coming back into town, and he's coming out to meet him with 400 men. So it's like, does he just have a lot of security or a lot of extra help, or is he coming out with a little army to... And so that's part of the tension of the story. But when Esau meets Jacob again, the anger has subsided. Esau's gone out. He didn't need that birth right after. He went out, he made his own family, he worked hard, he obviously had land and servants and all that good stuff. The anger he felt at the time, either at Jacob or at himself, we can debate that one, has moved on. He's lived with his stupid decision and made a good life for himself nonetheless. So, that's one example in the Bible. Someone does something profoundly stupid, and I will argue, I've read this book and sort of analyzed its symbolism left, right, forwards, and sideways, and I would still argue that Esau was quick, impulsive, and just kind of dumb at that moment. But he goes through a wave of anger in the result of that, and later a sort of acceptance and a moving on. So, now the question I'm going to throw to you here. I'm going to sit down. We can think about what Esau did when he was stupid, made a foolish decision. What do we do, though, when we find ourselves on the other end of doing something stupid, or someone close to us that we care about has done something profoundly foolish? How do we deal with that? First, let's start with ourselves. Why not? I mean, have we ever been on the other side of having done something really, really foolish and just kind of having to live with that? And if we have, kind of picture that in our head for the first. Never. Okay, Patty's on the never category. Never. I have been there several times, so we can.
Often.
Often. Okay, Cassie's often. All right. So can we at least try to? Patty, you're just gonna have to imagine this sort of thing.
Oh, I've been there. Many times in a day.
Now, it almost by definition has to be after the stupid event. Because if you thought it was stupid, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. So, how do we deal with the after effect of having done something kind of foolish? How do we deal with it?
Laugh at yourself.
So you're a little like Esau there. You can get angry at yourself.
Yeah.
See,
But I get angry at myself,
not someone else.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough.
I swear.
They swear. Okay, a little swearing there. All right. At yourself or someone else?
Myself.
Okay, well, fair enough. Okay.
I vent.
Tell me more. How do you vent?
I feel sorry for the people that I vent to. Poor Jane, poor Greg, poor Cassie.
I feel sorry for it.
So you find some people to chat with about that and just kind of talk about what went through. All right. I'm kind of curious, you look very deep in thought. I'm wondering, if you find yourself on the other end of a mistake like that, how do you work through that?
Well, it's not easy. I was trying to remember something specific, and I can't just
Yeah.
remember something specific. But I think I find myself in that position, so I want to grow from it, and so I stop doing things like impulsively.
Mhm.
If something comes up that's impulsive, I have learned to slow down a little bit, but not totally.
You
It's
mentioned
hard to forgive yourself.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of really good points. I want to play with one of them. The need to learn from this, I think, is it kind of, for me anyway, and I want other people to see if they can chime in on this one. I want to get something out of the dumb experience, so I'd say something like, well, I want to learn or grow from this. Does anyone else have the need to, in other words, can you just wipe it off as well, that's dumb, move on, or do you feel the need to glean something good of this load of crap that just went through? That's my first impulse. In other words, do you just move on, or do you feel the need to get something good out of what you just, learn something or grow from the experience or something like that?
Well, at least, because if you keep repeating it,
Oh, fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's so easy to do, keep
Mhm.
repeating your same mistakes.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's another question. If we learn from mistakes, why do people keep doing stupid things? Do we really learn from our mistakes?
Depending on what the mistake was.
Well, okay, fair enough. That implies that there are certain mistakes we're just doomed to repeat over and over again.
You gotta own them.
Yep.
Alright. So certain mistakes we actually own and might actually learn and grow from. Other ones we kinda,
It's somebody else's fault.
Don't really care.
or don't really, yeah.
Don't really-
In the story, here's a real question then. In the story, do you think Esau is blaming Jacob for his own stupidity? Or is Jacob really a bad person here? You know the essence of the story now.
No, I thought that he was blaming Jacob for tricking him.
Yes.
That he felt tricked.
Mm-hmm. He does feel tricked.
And I think he was tricked.
Tell me more.
But that's a mistake too you gotta learn from, getting tricked.
If it was modern times, you would think, there's no way you're gonna hold me to that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You said something flippant. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you can have my birthright for some soup.
I didn't mean it.
Yeah, no one means that.
Now, the next step, convincing Dad that this was legit, was actually even worse. When Jacob actually pretends. So Jacob, Jacob, his dad is, Isaac. Isaac is dad. So Jacob's trying to steal the birthright from Esau. Now you heard the suit incident. Later, Isaac is dying. He's old, kind of blind, and so he's realizing its time is very short, so he's going to officially confer the blessing to his oldest son. That's where Jacob actually gets really tricky. He actually makes the stew up from the wild meat, and he claims to be Esau. He actually puts the fur on him, yeah, and so he can't see, but he feels him. Oh yes, you're hairy like Esau. Apparently, Jacob didn't have a whole lot of body hair, but Esau had tons of it. They were twins, technically, obviously not. identical kind. But anyway, and then in the Bible story, Isaac gives his blessing to whom he thinks is Esau, but it's actually Jacob, and that's when things get real. So that's a little more tricky, because Esau didn't do anything stupid to make that happen. But certainly the soup incident is,
Jacob was tricking him.
Yes, and there's part. Jacob is actively trying to trick him. So now that we know the basic of the story, do you think, and you can't be wrong with this answer, do you think Esau is more angry at Jacob or himself? It's a good question. I don't know the answer, so I'm going to see what you guys think.
It's very telling for me because I would be mad at Mom. I would think, why didn't you keep your other son from screwing me over?
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Mom was actively involved. This is a very long, complex story.
Yeah.
Mom was okay, Jacob's trickery in the whole thing, Mom was actively involved. And there's a real family fight. Mm-hmm. Mom loves Jacob most. Dad loves Esau most. So Mom tricks that her son that she likes, no, they're both her sons, but the one she likes gets all the inheritance. So there's a lot of trickery, there's a lot of backstabbing going on here.
Yeah, I'd be mad at her thinking that she coaxed my brother into doing all this.
Mm-hmm. And very interesting, he never shows a lot of anger at her. Mm-hmm. For him, the anger's all on Jacob. Mm-hmm. But you have a great point, and that's never brought out in the story, is that, hey Mom, I'm your kid too, what's wrong with you?
This is very Games of Thrones kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Very much so. All right. When other people do something stupid, I mean, really sort of dumb, but we have to live with, how do we react to that? How do we deal with that? What's the trick we use to get by when someone does something really foolish and we can't stop them from doing it?
Just let them do it and hope that they'll learn from the mistake that they made. Or try to set them in the right direction so they don't do it again.
Fair enough. All right.
Watch it play out.
Yep.
So in other words, there are times when we have to let someone else make that mistake and kind of watch it play out. Are there any times when we feel are there times when we're gonna,
Like if they're turning in the direction of going over the cliff, you can't do that. Make that mistake.
Yeah, so there are times we stop someone from making a mistake or something like that.
Because
There's times you
you're
gotta
gonna
let. What's the
along.
difference?
Well, if you're along for the ride and you're gonna get hurt, you gotta do something.
Fair enough. And how much it affects us is a big thing. Yeah. We've talked about this before, but what about kids? If they're gonna do something stupid, where's the line between when you stop a child from doing something stupid and when you just let them learn from their own mistake?
If it
Keep
won't,
hands on it, they're gonna get hurt.
yeah, if it
Or
Somebody
somebody
else is
else.
gonna get hurt.
They're gonna.
if it results in an ER visit,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Or jail visit.
Well, no, 'cause this is the million. I've always wondered this. I've dealt with a lot of teens, but I've never actually had children myself. So I've always wondered, at what point do you really walk in and say, "This is an idiot move," and what point do you let them figure it out for themselves?
I think that with children, it's important to do that. Start it when they're young, letting them make mistakes.
Mhm.
Because when they get too old, they aren't gonna listen to you anyway, and they're gonna just go do some really stupid things. So if, when they're getting a little close to the hot iron, maybe, say, this is hot, but let them touch it.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, because all right, kids in like my youth program, something that I grew close to as the years went by. One of the biggest ones was girlfriends for the guys. In other words, they choose someone to be with romantically, and I just smell this is not a good idea. And I've always chose, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I have a feeling some of you, by looks on your faces, may have been in some similar boats here. I have chosen to let that one play out, but keeping an eye on it. But I always wondered about that. You see, do you tell a youngster that their new romantic interest is this person is no good? Or do you let it play out?
I've done both ways.
Okay, which one works better? Which one does?
Neither one works.
Even if you use the technique of
It's true.
prodding,
It's true.
even if you use the technique of prodding questions, hoping they'll come to the right conclusions, it doesn't work.
Oh, you're playing therapist at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah, you're hoping they come to that.
Yeah, I stood behind Robin when she married AJ, and everybody else around me said, don't. And I said, well, I'd rather be with her than against her.
Mm-hmm.
And then, turns out he's an alcoholic and an abusive person. Well, that was a dumb thing how that happened, wasn't it? But I did the opposite with Cassie because you could see a mile away that this guy was just trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Capital letters. Oh
Yeah.
my God. That man is prison for life for murder now.
So did your intervention help or hurt?
No.
Okay, it just yeah.
No. Well, I don't know that that it helped Robin at all to stay with her, but I wasn't against him,
Yeah. No, I mean,
and I
when
wanted him to change to be a decent person.
I'm curious though, when things went south in Robin's relationship, did she feel she could talk to you about it?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
She called, "Come get me, Mom."
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is. And it's always been my dilemma in situations like that. I'm like, well, I have a feeling this thing's going to go south, but I want him to feel comfortable talking to me if it does, as opposed to, if I come down and say, this person's horrible, and they stay with him, I was always afraid they wouldn't want to talk to me if it goes south.
Because
Yeah.
they'll look stupid.
Yeah, well,
Because you told them.
Yeah, I think everyone's afraid of the I told you so speech.
Yeah.
See, yeah, Cassie, when I talked against him, she came back with, "You just don't want me to be happy."
Mhm.
And I was,
Yeah, well, yeah.
but he wasn't worth the time.
Mhm.
Not only that, but she ended up with a child.
Mhm.
So, how you tell this child that her father killed somebody?
Mhm. How did you?
It was, Cassie wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
She made me do it.
Okay.
Because she started asking questions about her father, because she doesn't have the same last name as
Mhm.
her stepfather.
Yeah.
And why am I
Mhm.
this? And so I explained that he did this terrible thing, and that the only way she's ever going to see him is if she goes to prison to visit him.
So blunt, forward,
Yes.
just here it is.
And you gotta be pretty basic with it, yeah, because you don't want to get into too much detail until they ask more.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to answer questions before they're ready for it.
Fair enough.
But it's hard. It's hard. Then she comes back with, "You think that I'm going to be like he was?" And I go, "No, I really don't, because you weren't raised the same as he was, and you have a weird heart."
Yeah.
She has a big heart.
She does.
Well, it's a great example of again seeing someone make a mistake and not knowing exactly what to do with that and just vying for helping.
But you
people do
feel
that.
bad either way.
Mhm.
It doesn't. Because I go, okay, I stood beside Robin all the way with that
Mhm.
marriage and put her down a bad path. So I'm going to put my real
We'll put-
feelings
yeah.
out there towards this one, and we still have a bad path.
Yeah. So you don't win either way,
No,
but
I didn't win either way.
I had an experience in my life that, I was dating this girl and, some person, to this day, I don't know who it was. She probably took it to her deathbed, they wrote letters about this person I was dating, stay away from her, she's no good and all this,
now who wrote you letters about?
I don't know who it was.
Oh, some just
It was
you
anonymous.
got anonymous
No
letters
name
out.
or
Oh my
nothing.
God! Okay.
And there was no return address.
Yeah, they
week I would get a letter.
So really went out of their way, and you never
Tell me to
found
stay
it?
away from this woman.
Yep.
I
Wow.
didn't take her advice.
That is
Because
remarkable.
it
And
could have been like in one of her exes or something.
Well, you-
or whatever.
What did you learn?
What? What
You
did I
learned?
learn from that?
no, and I'm going to back Dave up a little bit here. Just before I married Cassie, a fellow clergy member pulled me aside and said, "You're not ready emotionally to be married. Marrying Cassie at this time is the worst mistake you can make with your life." Yeah, and it's been 13 years. She's clearly the best person I've ever been with. So there's a little bit of me that looks back and says, "Ah, the heck with you, you jerk."
Yeah.
So it's hard to know that. And so, in other words, yeah. I mean, he was firmly convinced that marrying her was the dumbest thing I could do at this point in my life. And he
Sounds
was
like
dead
my
wrong.
parents.
Oh, yeah, oh, really? Oh, do tell.
Well, Brad and I had been together for about 2 years before we got married. My mother said we didn't know each other well enough. Mom and Dad knew each other 9 months.
That was good.
I'm sitting there going, what do you have to go by that tells you that this is wrong?
Mhm.
And then she goes, well, your age difference, it's not good. It's not good.
Mhm.
You should, and my dad goes, don't put a tight leash on him because you'll lose it. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God.
How do you
And then
feel in the middle of all this? I'm just kind
Well,
of
when
curious.
Mom said that we shouldn't get married, I said, fine, I'll just live with him. Well, that's
Well, there's a good
she didn't like that one.
Good work.
That's awesome.
Well, it's like when Rusty and I started dating.
Mhm.
Rusty's 13 years older than I am.
Yeah.
He was divorced
Mhm.
and had 3 children. So we were engaged, and everybody says, you know, it's never going to work and all this stuff. And his ex-wife says, yeah, the only way he's going to marry you if you're pregnant. Well, we got married in 1980, and I had Sean in 86, so I must have had an elephant or something.
That's the longest gestation I've ever heard of.
But it just, so took his people off. I lived with them for a year. And we're still together. Haven't killed each other yet. It's been,
It's tempted every once in a while, but it's a success. Yep.
but it's the difference, you know, because he's 13 years older. So like I'm 66, gonna be 67, he's 80 now. And you just sit there, well, we've been through this, we've been through that, we've been through this, we can get through anything. Just takes us a little longer to get through it.
But
But
that's the problem with advice, isn't it? I mean, we were talking about giving advice, helping people avoid mistakes. But the truth is, and I didn't really, sometimes people give us heartfelt advice and it's just wrong. So how are you to know?
well, it's my one girlfriend that says, oh, it's never gonna work, Penny. Blah, 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 blah. Well, they were only married 3 years.
Yeah. See, and before we got married, you aren't gonna make it a year, what are you, stupid? And we got 42.
I think that's one of the stupid things that I've learned not to do is to give advice. Don't do that. That's really stupid, is to give somebody else advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can get blamed for something that you really don't even have any intentions of, and you don't want to cause something to happen either
Mm-hmm.
by giving advice and saying, oh, this will be perfect for you. No, don't do that.
See, that was like, the living together was my way of telling Mom to shut up
Without actually telling her.
And the best way to stay away from that is to get the other people to talk, to get them to talk and talk and talk and see if they can listen to their own self, but not to intercede.
I've seen,
Yeah.
as a pastor, I've seen a lot of marriages, and I hate to be cliche, but I can't tell the difference early on. In other words, what will work and what won't work.
Yeah.
I've married people where I'm like, ugh, I don't know about those two. I'll keep my mouth shut. They do fine. Others, on my last wedding, I thought they were a great couple. It was a beautiful wedding day. I knew these people. They're good friends for years. Living together as husband and wife lasted 3 months. And it was just like, and now it's, I mean, within 1 year, it was legally divorced. And I'm like,
That happens a lot though. People can live together for 10 years or whatever, and they decide to get married, and then they get divorced. Once they get married, I mean, it happens.
yeah,
Vice versa. They're married, and all of a sudden they think it's better to do their taxes, and then they get divorced, they're still together. And that doesn't, then they feel they don't have no ties there, they can just go. If you're just living with someone.
maybe. But I'm just, after all these years of marrying people, I am shocked at the ones that work and the ones that don't. And so part of it is I don't give advice because I don't want to get in trouble, but the other part is I've just seen enough weird, so I can't call them anymore. And so people who think I find people who think they know which wedding relationship are going to work or not work. I find them arrogant and wrong most of the time. And I'm sorry, I will always remember that kind-hearted pastor pulling me aside, right? You're just not emotionally ready to get married at this point, given what you've been through. This is going to be horrible. Are you really sure? I don't think you're ready. And I'm like, and if I followed his advice, I would have given up the best relationship I ever had.
And how would you have known?
Yeah, exactly. And so, at the time I was just kind of arrogant and heck with you, I know. But in that case, it was right. So, and that's the other thing. It seems like calling something stupid, in other words, what a dumb thing to do, can only be looked at in hindsight because at the time, the action seems pretty smart to us. And so, do we ever do something that's obviously stupid when we're doing it?
We know it's stupid.
We do?
I do.
Okay, fair enough. This is
Good
good.
idea. I never think of this idea.
But here's my question then, and maybe I'm missing a point.
And then the worst part of it is I'll go tell somebody else how stupid it was to make me look more stupid.
But there has to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but here I'm going to throw out a sentence, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Every idea has to have, at least in your brain, seemed like a good idea at the time, or else you never would have done it. Am I missing something here? Or do we knowingly do an idea that we think is stupid just to see what happens?
Sometimes. And alcohol's not even involved.
No, I'm throwing out alcohol involvement on this because though that can also be So I was just kind of curious.
Alcohol gives you an excuse to be stupid, but sure. I've tried stuff that I'm sure is going to fail and as stupid as can be, but I just want to see what happens.
That's me too.
Okay, so
Give me an example.
Oh, it mostly involves cooking.
Oh. Oh yeah, but you can throw that out.
You don't have to let somebody else taste it.
Things
no, this becomes the diplomatic moment for me. So, honey, what do you think? Oh, sweetie, what a wonderful effort. I'm so thrilled that you yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, he's definitely the cook.
But, so I am wrong. So there are times when you think an idea is kind of stupid, but what the hey, it might work.
Sometimes you just do it, or I do it, just to change other people's minds.
Something
This is-
stupid.
Show 'em.
Just to show him, or to get his attention to do something different.
Okay.
Or if I have a bad habit of, you tell me, you cross this line, forget it. You gotta cross the line.
Oh, because
Yeah.
Oh, it's Eve. It's last week's sermon Eve all over again. Don't do this. I'm like, oh, I gotta try it.
Well, I don't know which relative it was. Come back with, see, I come by this naturally. Because they do the same thing. If you put that, my cousin's daughter, I said, if somebody draws that line in the sand and dares you to step over it, you have to. And that's just me.
And me.
Or just to see what's on the other side of that line.
Well,
Or to stick it to them, even if you are wrong.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, so I'm hearing, yes, there's
yes.
Spite.
there is a little bit of, sticking your tongue out, crossing the line, what are you going to do about it now type thing.
Yeah.
How interesting. So that's a very teenage thing to do, yet we're all talking about it much older than our teenage years.
Yes.
It could be a little bit of that
I
teenage.
probably did a lot more of it as an adult than I did as a teenager.
Yep.
But your parents draw lines all the time when you were growing up, and you don't cross them lines because you don't want the consequences of what will happen then.
So you made up for your crazy teenage rebellion as an adult?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I see that.
But there are times when other people, like for instance, Davina, I'll make a comment, that was really, what did you do with that word? That didn't make any sense. I don't know if I say stupid. And then when she explained some of it to me, I realized, well, maybe her way was a better way, you know. It isn't always your way, that's your way, right? Just because you think somebody else is stupid, they did it that way, might be the right way to do it.
My husband does.
Huh?
My husband does that.
What do you mean?
Every suggestion I can come up with for different ways of doing stuff, oh, that's not gonna work.
I do that with her too.
And then he does it his way,
And
and
it
it
does
doesn't work.
Yeah, I know. Me too. You're really a glow there.
And then when you I guess he has admitted that you were right, though, to me, that I should have did it the way you said to begin with.
Greg and I had a moment like that just the other day with the cheese.
There's a plaque on the wall for the time I was right.
Yes,
We actually put money into a plaque on the wall when I was right 3 times in one day.
Yes, you were. But just the other day, I did not know, I always reach for baggies and things to put stuff away. Greg always wraps them in a lot of saran wrap. And I'm like, I asked, why do you always reach for the saran wrap and not just throw it in a baggie? And he had a perfectly good explanation. Less air contact with the cheese, made it last longer. So
That's true.
he wrapped it tight. And see,
But I guess you couldn't she watched me do it several times and just never said anything. Finally, it's like, Greg, why in God's green earth would you do it this way? And it's like, whoo, I have a good idea for once. Write that on the calendar. I like this.
So then you wrap it up good and then you put it in a baby.
Well, now that's just wimpy. Now you're doing it both ways. What?
I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
With cheese.
Cheese doesn't last long if it's got exposed to air.
I know it doesn't.
Then I say, why don't you put that in a
Right
baggie?
there.
I'm not,
Right there,
I'm
baby.
not getting you another plaque.
Baggies.
Can I get another plaque for this one?
No plaque.
Oh my God.
But sometimes, especially if you're freezing, you want the extra. The baggie.
Well,
Well, it's just a cheese thing.
It's easier to carry a baby than it is to get this block of cheese. I just,
Yes.
I never thought this cheese conversation would go so far.
Cheese is touchy.
But that's the thing about being right and taking advice. And there's a wonderful. I'm so sorry, Chia. I trained with a gal in St. Cloud when I got this job, and we had a running joke together because if one of us was right, we joked that we'd give the other a parade because they were right. So every time we'd say something, I think it's like this way. Oh, no, I think it's like that, and one of us would be right. I'm like, all right, where do you want your parade? I'm thinking down that road, then up that way, and I'm like, this is because. We're gonna have cotton candy? Of course we're gonna have cotton candy. It's a parade, we'd go back and forth like that. But it was we'd imagine a parade every time one of us was right. It was kind of cool. And I've done that with Cassie a little bit too.
You actually
Imagine
paraded
parade.
in the snow in front of the parsonage.
But I was right that time.
No, you were doing a parade.
Yeah, I wanted a parade.
No, you were parading for me being right that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You were right that time and had a whole parade?
And you had to go do a parade.
Oh, I said if I was wrong, I'd do it. Yeah, how was that parade? We did a whole...
It was in the snow. You were still in your pajamas. I think it was a Christmas, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
it.
well, at least you had your pajamas on.
I'm just saying, anytime, I don't know, I got this picture from Jane about, and all I see is Rusty bent over fixing the flooring, and I'm like, The last thing I want to see on my phone is Rusty's rear end.
Well, at least he had clothes on.
That's the reason I'm not in therapy over this, okay? Just be careful what you send me on the internet, mate. Alright. So have we got a method or something we do when we're dead wrong? I mean, what, honestly, okay, here's the scenario. We've gotten close to this. We haven't asked the actual question. So, we're in the home, someone we love, working with, but we are dead wrong. We just got on the other end of a stupid idea. Our idea has been proven to be dead wrong, stupid, not the right way to go. What do we do with that? Meaning, do we ignore it? Do we apologize? Do we pretend it never happened? How do you realistically do that in front of people who now know that your idea was a lemon?
Depends on my mood.
Oh, please, give me, okay. Give me one example of one mood.
You don't have time.
This is a real question because it's something we all,
I don't think there's one answer to that. I think it does depend on just lots of various.
Depends on the circumstances,
Yeah,
depends on
things
what
going
happens,
on, and
depends
the mood
on
at the time.
everything and how you're feeling and.
If they're being real smug about it.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the difference.
so the smug thing gets in the way, huh?
Yeah.
Just let
You
them
don't
be.
wanna tell somebody that's being smug that you were wrong.
Okay, so you
And
gotta,
that you're sorry, do ya?
Well, maybe not right away, but you know.
Eventually,
let it grow,
Maybe
let
60
it
years
settle.
later.
Let them have their smugness. They need it.
When you're around people enough, you know how they're gonna react,
yes.
and just let it alone, and, you know, maybe it's gonna take a day or two before.
Or all you gotta do is look at them and they'll, well, alright.
alright.
All right, I won't say no more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll let it rest. You know I'm right.
I'll probably have to do that, even though I'm right, yeah.
When I'm wrong, I try to own it the best I can as quickly as I can and then move on. Some people don't let you move on, even though you've said you're sorry and you
yeah.
know that you've messed up.
Yeah.
wow, I feel that was a little personal there.
I wasn't even looking at you.
I didn't think so.
That could happen easily at work.
Yes.
It can.
How so?
Yeah.
Because if you do something wrong at work, they will tell you and tell you and tell you.
Oh, it's the long-term memory of
And
it,
10
yeah.
years later, you're still telling.
Telling, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but everybody makes mistakes. We're human.
Well, yeah, but how we deal with it is what makes the difference in many ways. Yeah, and that's why I asked the question. It's not so much whether we have done something dumb, stupid, mistake-like somewhere along the way. That's an easy answer. The million-dollar question for me is, what do you do with it? In other words, how do you deal with it? Under what circumstances do you?
If it's something that Brad and I had argued about
Yeah.
first, then I will apologize right away because I don't want to be the one that started something for nothing.
Okay.
And you want to be in a happy home.
Yeah, I get it. It's not worth the conflict anymore.
No.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or the bad feelings.
Okay. Are we tempted sometimes to just ignore it? I've had a lot of people in my life that if they're just wrong, they pretend like it never happened. And I'm wondering if this is a common thing.
Only if you can get away with it.
It's sometimes really hard to ignore
Okay, fair enough.
because, I mean, it just kind of in your face.
Yeah, it's in a small space. It's sitting there. It's obvious. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how they can just kind of forget that it existed.
Mm-hmm. I've known a couple people in my life who are very talented at that. I mean, they can't ever just admit, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm wrong." It's amazing mental acrobatics to pretend it never happened.
But see, now Brad has in the past bullied children for something.
That was his fault?
No.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the
8-track or the regular?
Cassette.
Cassette.
All right, well that is a horrible thing, yes.
And I explained it to him when he came home, and it was my fault.
Okay.
The fact that he didn't put it away and the child got a hold of it and put it in there had nothing to do with it. It was me not watching her.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, those we don't get away with. Because it wasn't my fault. You cannot, any mother will tell you, you cannot watch them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And still get your other stuff done.
Yes, and not have, that they won't make any dumb moves. You can't do it. They're gonna do some stuff that's not good.
So you got blamed for the child throwing away the queen tape into the toilet. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, just check
Or
that
did they
out.
flush it?
No, they didn't flush it. I grabbed it and pulled it out. And I don't know if it's safe.
I don't know if I want to run that machine.
But see, he kind of, I don't like clean.
Oh,
So he thought you did it on purpose?
Yes.
Maybe there was something. And you didn't hear after the tape was gone.
A little passive aggressive there, you think? Just kidding, I'm teasing you.
I mean, you gotta look at all these situations when it happens to you.
It's true.
But I mean, he did think it was
On purpose.
Well,
I
if you
didn't-
wouldn't put it away the first time, then it wouldn't have happened.
happened, yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it was new information that you had small children in the house.
Don't look at me like that.
Yeah, but in every situation, there's what if.
There is a
It's-
concern.
That's what if.
You
With-
could say that,
Yeah.
whose fault is it? Both of yours fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
not really one
didn't
or the
really
other.
care about it as much as he did. So
No, I
you
did
didn't,
not
if the
care
child
about
was
the
had
fact.
it in his hand.
But I did try to save it.
That's a great point though. For every stupid decision, for every bad move or anything, whatever you want to call it, there are a big pile of what ifs. A huge
Yeah.
pile. What if you had done? And with each what if, someone else can be blamed. What if the child hadn't touched that? What if you kept him around the child? What if he had put it in a safe place? What, you know, yeah.
Well, you can't blame anybody, really. It's nobody's fault.
Or everyone gets a little piece of the blame somewhere along the
The
way.
devil,
What?
the devil.
The devil. The devil made me do it.
Oh, that's a really old one, isn't it?
It is an old one.
I have kind of said what it looks like living with Cassie, and Cassie's the one who lives in the toilet, so I do blame.
But that's a neat reaction to. I mean, even in the Bible story with Esau, there's so many people we've actually blamed. There's Esau, who's honestly was a dumb move, giving up everything. Okay. There's Jacob, who tried to get clever. There's Mom, who had the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, there's actually, ironically, if you start playing the what if game on every stupid thing we do in life, there's a ton of blame to go around. I mean, yeah.
And even the thing with you marrying Cassie, you don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, that's
At
true.
the time, no.
But you know what did happen. You're happy.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, though, I found that I found him arrogant to give that advice, and now looking at it, I can say with some confidence that the advice is dead wrong. But question.
This so teaches you something about advice.
Yes, that's what always. Yes. And so
Yeah.
when I'm talking to other people about relationships and something like that, I am always now, as a result of that, really hesitant to say
Yeah.
marrying her, marrying him is a dumb move. I will.
Yeah.
Remember, I literally can't get myself to say it, even if there's a piece of my brain screaming it, because I keep remembering. Yeah. His name was Dale.
How it
Yeah.
worked out.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, had I. So.
And I remembered a specific example where I was wrong. I was wrong and I knew it. And what was happening is I ordered wrong. We were at a restaurant. We were a large group of people.
Mhm.
And I ordered wrong. And what as the waitress was coming with the salads, I knew what I did wrong. I ordered a salad to be a meal, but I wanted it when everybody else got their salad, and I didn't tell the waitress that. I just ordered the salad. And so, the other people were getting side salads, and they come first.
Mhm.
Mine was gonna come with the meal. And as she's bringing them, I'm going, oh my God, I'm so hungry. and I can't stop this from happening.
And then you gotta watch everyone eat all around you.
And I have David on one side and my son on the other, and I'm like, can I tell the waitress? And they're going, no, I mean, it's not her fault. She's got no control over it at this point. The order has been put into the routine, whatever they do here. It's not in her power. And so I just had a meltdown. And
I just grabbed a fork and went from one plate to another plate.
You got 2 family members on each side, grab that.
there was other things to do besides having a meltdown.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so when I had that meltdown, I realized I needed professional help so that when I would realize I was going to have a meltdown, I would have another choice. I could stop and say, take a breath or whatever, instead of getting up and running away from the table and jeez. So I am getting mental health.
Well, no, but it's also, I mean, it sounds like the issue of just being wrong becomes more important, a bigger thing in your mind than the actual issue, because eventually you get
No,
food.
it felt like torture. It felt like torture
Really?
not having food, and everybody was going to eat, and I was going to sit there and not have food. That's why I got up and
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah.
Didn't they have a bread basket or something on there?
Of course, you go to one of those restaurants where they don't have those, so you're just sitting there starving to death, watching everyone else eat.
Can I have a biscuit, please?
Can I have something, dear, for the love of God? I'm starving. Don't you have any crackers in the bag?
No, I've been cautioned not to say anything to the waitress.
Well,
Then you know what to do. You have crackers or something in your purse, and then you just
But no,
grab your
I'm
crackers.
No, I am backing up Janina on this because I've had a similar situation where the issue for me, anyway, was more of I so regretted not saying something that it became a huge issue in and of itself. I remember very much, and it was another meltdown. Basically, I was trying to be polite, and someone said something like, "Hey, we're going out to the park this afternoon, and you want to join us?" And I'm like, "Oh no, it's all you kids. You guys have fun." And they were older. Anyway, and they left, and I so regretted it, but it kept going over in my mind to the point where I actually had to call them up to come back and get me because I had a full meltdown. And it's like that. It was and it was for some reason, and it was no big deal in and of itself, but in my head it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning, and I so regretted the mistake I had made that it became a giant deal. And I remember eventually they came back, picked me up, and I went out there, and it's like, and I did it, but it's like, at the time, like, why did I freak out so much over that issue? But yeah. So I'm backing you up, Janina. This is normal.
But in her case, there's a lot of places you go to eat, and the waitress will say, "Do you want your salad right away?" In her case, she ordered it was supposed to be her meal, so she didn't say that. So.
No, but
And she didn't tell her either, so it was communication.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of places will ask you that.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, was it a food issue or was it a mistake issue? Meaning you keep thinking about the mistake over and over again, and that gets to you. Because that's what happens.
I think it was more than a mistake. Yeah,
I've been there.
I obviously could survive another 10 minutes before, or 20, or even an hour.
Yep.
I could have survived.
Yeah.
But it was by error.
And and you're sitting there, and I don't want to speak for you, but there are times where the fact that I made that mistake and I'm staring at it over and over again just grabs me. And don't look at me like I'm nuts, Patty.
Other people that were sitting at the table didn't really help because they said, "Well, you should have did this."
Well, that's just
They feel worse. Yeah.
Yes, I'm already there. You're already there thinking you're dummy to begin with. And
feel more stupid.
Well, you should have done it. Yeah.
Then you got upset with the people that were doing that.
Of course, they're rubbing
And
salt in the
they're
wound.
saying, "Well, what did I do wrong?" You know?
Yeah.
They're thinking.
Yeah, exactly what I do. You're
Yeah,
rubbing
but
salt in my
when
wound.
Yeah, when you're mouthing something that you didn't need to hear their opinions on it. No, she didn't.
But there are times.
So I screamed, "Stop talking to me," and ran away.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's better to leave. Let people cool down, you cool down, and then come back, and everything.
David had to explain it to everybody later. Ramona, Frank, they all went back to Frank. he was on a trip, but he wasn't there. And they're going, what's wrong with your mother? What's wrong with your mother? Oh, that's normal. That's normal.
That's normal. She's really attached to salad. That's normal.
You touchy.
Well, and certain things do kind of just hit you wrong some days.
And I was trying to tell them it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
Did you even eat your salad? I don't remember.
Yes, I did. You called me back when my salad came, and I did eat it.
No, I can very sympathize, because sometimes just the fact that it's something like we were wrong, that we're bothered by it, and it can really eat at us, which is interesting. Which is why I always wondered with Esau, is he angry at Jacob because Jacob's an idiot, or is he angry at himself and taking it out towards Jacob because it was kind of a dumb move, and he's got to live with that now. We will never know, but I've always wondered that. All right, last thoughts, ideas on dumb moves, bonehead moves, wrong
It's
moves.
good to talk about.
And sometimes it's better just to walk away.
Fair enough. Yep.
We can't change the past, but
Yeah.
we can live in the future
Yeah.
or
Yep.
be ready for the future.
Yep.
It's gonna happen again.
Oh, God.
So in our story, who's the biggest villain? Esau, Jacob, or Mom?
Mom.
Mom.
Yeah, you shouldn't pit your kids against each other.
No.
Fair enough. And by the way, there's a lot of stuff in the Old Testament where people get favorite kids. As a matter of fact, Jacob, who's doing this stuff, ends up having the same problem. The story of Joseph and his brothers and all that. Jacob's the dad in that.
Yeah.
That same Jacob we talked about in today's
Yeah.
story. So not only is he benefiting from Mom liking him over his brother, he will later like one of the kids more than the other 11 and get in
Yeah.
trouble that way.
Yeah, they wanted to kill him off.
Yeah, and so that dynamic was a family thing or something, because it's just an interesting little piece there.
It's really good to talk about this stuff.
I know an instance of a person that is gonna will his savings. Most, not all of it, but there's one granddaughter, because he favors her.
Yeah.
And she comes to see him all the time, she does all this stuff for him. And the other one, he's not gonna leave any money, you know. And I disagree with him. I said, you should treat you treat them both equal. Now, what's he gonna feel like when he passes away and sees that his sister is getting, this money and he's not getting it? He's gonna make him really feel bad.
And
You should love them both.
Problems
You
between
should love them both the same, even though he favors one because she does more.
That's the deal. I mean, as a minister for years, some of the worst moments in families are figuring out either a will or a lack of a will. It can bring the worst out of families.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, that can get real ugly. And you're right, he's creating a will that's creating ugliness after
I can
his death.
see it
Yeah.
coming, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I have a grandmother. My daughter was her first great-granddaughter, but she had 3 great-grandsons ahead of them, and she usually preferred the boys over the girls. But those boys wouldn't let her cry. And then, because Kathy just right up to her arms, waiting to get picked up and hot. And then Robin got sick. So I was told that nothing had money left to her. And I said, you don't want it.
No, it's...
And I mean, by the time Grandma died, she had a lot of great-grandchildren. And I said, is anybody else getting anything? And they said, no. Well, neighbors were. And Robin later, I found out she was mad at me because I wouldn't take it. But.
On the other hand, you would have opened up Pandora's box of hell had you done that. Yep.
Yes.
That's another whole issue. Old Testament, there's a lot of favoritism for children in Old Testament stories, and it leads to horrible stuff. We could have a whole conversation on that one. We're gonna let that one go for now. All right, last thoughts on dumb moves. Thanks, gang. Remember, whatever it is, saying I'm sorry is a good start, and don't kill your husband. All right, good.
Everybody makes mistakes.
This is true.
Yeah.
And no one makes a decision thinking, okay, rarely does anyone make a decision thinking that it's not the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, the great expression is it was a good idea at the time.
And you always go back and love them, even if they make stupid mistakes.
A nice way to end it. It is part of it, and part of our songs was, you know, a certain love that God gives us and we give to one another, even with dumb moves. And I mean, that's part of the dynamic of really loving someone, is you love them even when they do something stupid. And they in turn love you when you do something stupid. So that's a nice thing. All right, thanks, gang. Let's start our last song, and then we'll mingle about. While we get that, what is the dessert du jour today, by the way?
I'm trying to remember what it was called.
You made it.
No bake,
What's that?
Oatmeal, peanut butter.
no, well, it didn't say peanut butter, it said chocolate oats.
Chocolate oats.
Make sure you grab some, because obviously I'm taking a bunch home. So, all right, last song. Sing it together here. As we go, may your spirit go before us. As we go, may we follow where you lead. May we live what we have learned, share the message we have heard, and be a light unto the world as we go. As we go, may your spirit go before us. As we go, may we follow where you lead. May we live what we have learned, share the message we have heard, and be a light unto the world as we go. And thank you again for the idea for this week, Patty.